Well, rebuilding retail after the pandemic, while online sales surge, more and more brick and mortar retailers are closing their doors as this coronavirus crisis lingers on. And those stores will not have the traditional back to school shopping season to fall back on this year. So joining us to go over the transformation that a lot of stores are going to have to undergo to stay relevant anymore is YSU marketing instructor John Rossi. John, thanks for joining us again.
Good morning. Glad to be with you, Lindsay.
Good morning. Yeah, let's talk about this because, a lot of consumers have changed their habits. Tell us a little bit about what we're noticing about how consumers have reacted to the pandemic and how do these businesses stay sustainable? Can they do it?
Yeah, in general terms, they're going through an evolution or a cycle or stages. Typically, they had an emergency. They had to respond, sort of like having a flat tire. What do you do? Then they moved on to more of a thoughtful response. Again, that was in an abundance of caution. Once they were determined whether they were going to be essential suppliers or essential retailers or non-essential retailers, they had to deal with mandates to close and protect their employees and protect their customers. And now we can see that they're moving out of this as we reopen into a more re-emergent retail. And customers are having different demands. The consumers demand different things, different products, different services, and they have to adapt.
All right. And we see a lot of this. Retailers and businesses have always had to kind of shift to whatever consumers want, and online shopping, Amazon, that's really played a role in the last several years, especially with the Christmas shopping season. So when you look at this, what do these businesses need to do, the stores that have the physical locations anymore, to keep customers coming back, and can they do it?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. With regard to online shopping, over the past month, it's increased about 31%. Historically, during the last recession, it was only about 4% of total retail sales. Now it's up to 12% of retail sales. So you're correct. They're competing against online shopping and consumers who find that much easier to deal with. The important thing about bricks and mortar retail is they have to create an experience that still makes the customer or client feel comfortable. And again, barbershops, salons, general merchandise retailers, furniture stores, all have to put into place accommodations to allow the customers to feel comfortable. Again, most of them have been using protections or PPE with their employees. A lot have put in plexiglass shields. A lot have changed their store hours. Some of them are, as you suggested earlier in the introduction, they're moving to buy online, pick up at store. So they're using their stores as a distribution center to deliver the products to the customers.
Yeah.
So customers drive up and pick up the merchandise.
It's definitely helpful to have the options. I know even as a mom, I can't ever get out of the car anyway. So it's nice to be able to drive up and get anything in the car. I even ordered diapers online, which I couldn't believe I did that. I really caved. But earlier this year, we also saw on the same lines of that toilet paper and then meat supply shortages. How important is it for these retailers and these stores where people buy their, essential items to have some product sourcing diversity to make sure that you have what you need for the consumers when they come to buy the needed products that they want to have?
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly essential products. A lot of the major manufacturers, producers of those products, were outsourced overseas. They're bringing much of that production back, or they're trying to bring much of that production back into the United States and make their supply chains more resilient. As part of that reemergence, instead of having one source, typically buyers and organizations would have a supplier that they like to trust and they'd stay with them. Now they have to have multiple sourcing options to bring products in from a variety of areas. So they're trying to make their supply chains more resilient. And again, that shows up in when consumers or customers go into a store or a retailer and they are out of stock on merchandise, whether it's essential or non-essential goods.
Now is the time for the stores to stock up and get ready for the back to school supplies. You see the stores getting the shelves ready, in the special sections. But what do you think is going to be tough, and which retailers are going to have the hardest time selling off items? What's going to be a really tough topic and maybe a department for those supplies?
Yeah, again, some of the research that's put out by the Federal Reserve in conjunction with the St. Louis Fed has indicated what the rates of loss were in terms of from January to April and then April to June. Clothing has been a significant industry that's impacted dramatically, almost 250% loss between January and April. They're coming back slowly. Another one is furniture, electronic stores. They have lost upwards to 35% of their business between January and April, and they're trying to make themselves more relevant and more resilient as we come back into June. But I think clothing is a significant one. And you saw this over the last week in some of your stories during the week about Ann Taylor and some of the major retailers, Brooks Brothers, who have had to shut down their stores. And again, these closings ripple out into the economy in terms of retail jobs as well.
Yeah, kids always grow, so you definitely need some clothes, but it sounds like it's going to be a little bit rocky from what you're describing. So thank you so much for your expertise. We always love having you. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Yeah, great to be with you. Thanks again.
All right, we're going to